Muhamadu Buhari, the president, arrived in Abuja last night with a government and business delegation. During the visit, he will address Nigeria's Senate and the House of Representatives. He will also, together with President Muhamadu Buhari, address the South African-Nigerian Business Forum. Ahead of the visit, neither presidency made mention of tensions between the two countries, including, most recently, the massive fine imposed by Nigeria on South African telecoms giant MTN. However, bilateral and business ties are expected to dominate talks this week. Well, our correspondent Sophia Adengo joins us live from Abuja. Sophia, good afternoon. If we look at the expected program, first up is the National Assembly that President Jacob Zuma will address. What characterizes these appearances?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting perspective. The first order of business really was the meeting of President Jacob Zuma and President Muhamadu Buhari at the State House, along with President Zuma's delegation, which is happening currently as we speak. And that is the first step that has really resonated here in Nigeria in terms of smoothing out what the Nigeria's Foreign Affairs, representative here, Mr. Geoffrey Onyema, said in terms of trying to calm the perceived tensions and proceeding cautiously in trying to understand what it is that, President Zuma ultimately would like to put forward with his delegation, as well as Nigeria laying out what they believe would be, a fair, relationship moving forward in terms of business and the political angle. It's very interesting. A lot of people do not know that the talks really started yesterday with a fundamental beginning on security, the cooperation between South Africa and Nigeria, with both the defense minister, meeting here with the Joint Chief of Staff in really trying to solidify the political cooperation in terms of South Africa committing to providing capacity for the troops here in Nigeria, which was really seen as the first fundamental step in bridging the gap between South Africa and Nigeria that has been realized, by some analysts. So moving forward today, after these talks early this afternoon, President Zuma is expected to speak to lawmakers and policymakers at the National Assembly, including a one-on-one conversation with the President of the National Assembly, Bukola Saraki, after which, the much anticipated address for the South Africa-Nigeria Business Forum. So much of that is being anticipated here, Natasha.
And Sophia, so this visit has also been described as symbolic, but I see neither side has made official mention of tensions between the two countries ahead of this visit. What do you make of that?
Well, at the end of the day, there has to be careful wording here. When it comes to bilateral talks, or when it comes to both countries coming to the table to look at one issue together, that is, seen as or perceived as a positive measure rather than a negative measure. So it is very obvious that the narrative surrounding Nigeria and South Africa pulling away from one another is very much changing. And that's what fundamentally this two-day visit that President Jacob Zuma has committed to is really to help Nigeria understand that South Africa is working very closely with the Nigerian government. And in the words of the foreign minister here in Nigeria, that South Africa is considered by Nigeria as a brother. And indeed, if there are any, tensions within the relationship, that those tensions can quickly be turned around. It's also fundamental to note that both Nigeria and South Africa really need one another at this moment, because both economies have seen considerable setbacks in the last year with regard to South Africa, trying to find commodity, markets, which is largely what the economy is dependent upon, whereas Nigeria has been continuously supplying South Africa with oil and oil-related, commodities, and that relationship is really the fundamental, idea behind this state visit, amongst security and also promotion of business and resetting of bilateral relations.
All right, Sophia, thank you very much for that update. Our reporter Sophia Adengo live from Abuja in Nigeria.